Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening and tuning in to the Ruckus and The Menace podcast. I'm Ruckus,
And I'm Ruckus the Menace.
and tonight, or whatever time you decide to listen to this awesome sports podcast, we are here with the 24th episode, almost on 25, of Ruckus and The Menace. It feels just yesterday we started this podcast, and
Yeah.
it's been a wild ride so far. Like my life hasn't changed all that much as far as like big things, but this part of what we do as a hobby so far has been truly a big bucket list item of mine. Or I don't know if I really should say that out loud, even though I just did, but I've always wanted to like talk about sports and have people listen to my opinions even if they're really bad about sports. Anyways, Spinnis, how have you been?
It's been good, and this journey has been a little more wild, a wild one for me because of all the eventful things happening. But on top of that, it's like, okay, I finished season 5 of Cobra Kai, solid season, very, very. It's a very bonkers type season as far as like action and the drama that comes with it. No spoilers because we're still within that window, although it is a 10 episode season. I've been kind of working on a few more things here and there. Um, whether it be trying to prepare things for the wedding in March, or and really that's going to kind of be a long-standing thing. It's really going to be running throughout these next 5-6 months. So mostly it's been just hunkering down and trying to get a few different things with that going on. But other than that, really nothing too far out of the ordinary. What about yourself, Ruckus?
Uh, I learned how to refurbish 3D printer nozzles, and the way you would do it. So if you've been using, so not a lot of people would know about this if they're not in the 3D printing world, but if your nozzle has been just used for printing nonstop and it just like doesn't print as well as it used to and not extruding plastic filament all the time like it normally did, there's a method where you can use a propane torch, or if you just have a torch lying around and you want to heat up a nozzle, you could heat it till it glows, and it'll mostly get all of your PLA or whatever filament out. But don't try that at home, or don't try it at your own discretion, I should say. I tried it at my own house, so that would be kind of ironic of me saying that, or really, I don't know. I don't care.
Or
Anyways,
just do it at your own risk.
there you go. Yeah, I learned how to do that with my father. Shout out my dad for being awesome and helping me with that. And I actually tried those refurbished nozzles. I had about 5 of them. They get pricey after a while. It's like $10 a nozzle. But I refurbished the ones I had clogged, and I've tried one so far, and it's worked pretty well. I don't know if it was necessarily just the fact that it was just a clogged nozzle, or it was just the fact that I just needed to re-level the bed or something. Because sometimes like it wears on the nozzle and it's not as like pointy like a pencil. So maybe you have to like level it to where it's more lower to the bed itself. But anyways, other than that, as far as TV and movies, I watched The Goonies for the first time, and I thought it was okay. Like, I didn't get what the hype was about it, because a lot of people were like, "Oh, you should watch The Goonies," or "Oh, The Goonies is a really good movie." So I was like, "All right, I'll watch it." So I watched that. I watched the Bad News Bears movie, the Billy Bob Thornton version. That one's okay. I like the like little adult themed jokes for it. Like, uh, the sponsor for the team was pretty hilarious. other than that, watched a lot of football, and man, we're gonna talk about it here in a bit, but I watched the highlights for most of like the noon games and like other games that were on whenever uh usually if the Chiefs were on they're like around 3, but the other games I did not watch around noon and the afternoon and at night. There were some ones that really stuck out to me that we'll talk about later, but man, some of those were just boring, but I just kind of look at the highlights. Um,
Yep.
but other than that, TV shows, Futurama, baby. And I'm waiting on the franchise episode 3 to come out for the Chiefs behind the scenes stuff that they do. It's I think it's probably better than the Hard Knocks, even though they don't really swear in it or like show like just the nitty gritty footage like HBO does with Hard Knocks. But I
Yeah.
like it. I like their camera work and how they just edit and produce everything. As far as new shows, uh, as far as like ones that are current to this year, I haven't really delved into a whole lot recently because the last most recent one I watched. Well, actually, that's not true. I watched Rick and Morty, like the new season, or yeah, like the first 3 episodes of the new season, and it's okay. Uh, there's a lot of things that I like and do not like. The first episode was all right. Second one was way better, and then the third one was kind of like, did they really have to do that? But hey, they're scheduled to do a bunch of episodes, and if you're running out of ideas, you kind of just gotta like work and experiment a little bit and go outside the box of what you normally do. And if it tanks or if it succeeds, yay, nay, whatever. Anyways, you ready for this weekly lineup, Spennis?
Yep. Yep. And we are going to start with a couple of things that kind of were unveiled to us just today. Um, I'll let you start with one, and I'll take care of the other.
All right. So, Royals fans, attention. I don't know if you've heard about this shit, but the former GM of the Kansas City Royals, Dayton Moore, was dismissed as the president of the Kansas City Royals. He was originally the general manager, and then JJ Piccolo took over, and Dayton Moore became the president of the Royals. Dayton Moore was the brain of the operation that got yes, he was the GM, but Ned Yost also helped mainly. But Dayton Moore is the one that got the players and the personnel to help Ned Yost get the Royals
The
to not only
2015 series.
the 2014 World Series and wipe all that out, but the 2015 World Series as well.
Yeah, where
But
the I was saying the 2015 series where they won the Commissioner's Trophy was kind
right,
of where I was getting at.
yeah, they went back to back, and now he is gone. He is dismissed as the president of the Royals, as announced today by John Sherman. All right, Spennis.
And my main piece that was unveiled just today, it was in Phoenix, as Phoenix basketball will soon be featuring a new owner due to a lot of controversy involving the current Suns and Mercury owner Robert Sarver, and especially the outrage that came from especially players outside of Phoenix about the issues involving Sarver. Though Adam Silver said this was a very different case than what the Donald Sterling was. Sarver has now announced his plans to sell both the Phoenix Suns and Phoenix Mercury basketball teams. So so Phoenix will soon be having the ding dong the witch is dead moment that I wish that a certain troll had gone away from DC before this happened, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, he had a yacht though that he went on.
Yeah, well, and just and just the my issues with involving the fraternity that is known as the NFL owners is also one that sticks out too. But speaking of basketball, the Boston Celtics have now decided to add a number 6 into the parquet floor this season to honor Bill Russell. This also goes along with the NBA universally retiring the number, though players that still currently wear number 6 can wear it. This is very much similar to what happened in 1997 when Jackie Robinson's number was retired in baseball. And of course, notably, one of those players that is still wearing number 6 because of yet another change back to it, LeBron James. And we have some home run watches going on right now. Um, Notably, Pujols is still at 698, but the Cardinals are still currently playing ball, and they are facing the San Diego Padres in the bottom of the third. So Pujols may still see a couple other at bats. But the New York Yankees defeated the Pittsburgh Pirates 14-2, but no home runs from Aaron Judge. Judge goes 2 for 4 in the game, but does not come away with a home run. Gleyber Torres and Oswaldo Cabrera hit home runs, but not Judge. So Judge is still currently sitting at home run number 60 and will need 1 home run to tie Roger Maris and 2 to pass him in order to have the American League home run record. Pujols had hit number 698 earlier this week and is now 2 home runs away from 700 with the few games that we have left to go. But what has become even more notable, Ruckus, is now the playoff races are starting to unfold.
Indeed, they
What
will.
what has kind of stuck out for you?
A sore thumb in the Astros clinching the AL West, but the Dodgers, the first to 100 wins. I mean, they did what the San Francisco Giants did a year ago, but I believe the Giants had 110, didn't they, last year, or was it just 100?
I think the Dodgers were also at 100 wins last year. I think the Dodgers also finished with 100 wins.
I don't know where the Giants are in the standings, but I just remember that they were had like 100 wins as well.
No, they were both a win apart from each other. The Giants had 107, the Dodgers had 106.
Oh, there you go.
So, yeah, none of them had 110. None of them had 110.
Okay.
But the Dodgers are currently at 103 and 45 with pretty much 14 games left. So the Dodgers, in order to surpass the Seattle Mariners mark, the Dodgers will have to win every single one of those games, of those 14 remaining games.
What's the
I don't think
Mariners standings?
the Mariners was in 2001.
Okay.
And I'm talking the 2001 Seattle Mariners, which had a record of 116 games. Yes, they were 116 and 46, which tied the major league record for wins with the 1906 Chicago Cubs. but they are the record for the most. But that is the current mark for the most wins by an American League team. The best record for an American League team at 116-46.
It has been interesting for the Mets and Braves, though, as far as the playoff race heating up.
I fully agree with you on that. As the two teams have officially clinched playoff spots. But now, the fun part is that the Braves now have 2 more games to try and catch the Mets. As the Braves have now played 2 less.
Now, are they just fighting for home field advantage in the playoffs, or is that already decided?
Nope, that has already been set. As they are fighting for the 2 seed. And that currently is being held by, as far as the number 1 seed, is held by the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Surprise, freaking surprise.
Yep. Surprises no one. And then, as far as the wild card races, the 2 notable teams that ended up having everybody make fun of for being eliminated were the Texas Rangers and the Los Angeles Angels now. Of course, the next teams in danger are the San Francisco Giants, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Boston Red Sox.
I'm guessing the Royals already have been eliminated. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, the Royals were eliminated after the Tigers and the Athletics were.
Ah, there you go.
Yep. They are sitting at 59-89, so they would have to lose 11 of their remaining 14 games to have 100 losses on the year, which is a very, very difficult feat.
For the
And
Royals,
now
not really.
And it is a 2-game race between the Brewers and Phillies for their last wildcard spot in the NL, while the Rays and Orioles are separated by 4.5. As the Orioles picked up a game by winning tonight. So we've got ourselves some drama that we're about 2 weeks away from this finally coming to a head. Or coming to a conclusion.
Sounds like it.
Yep. Now that we've kind of gotten into a bit of the present,
do we want to talk about Willie Gay or no?
Oh, we can. I wasn't too sure when we wanted to throw that in there, but
so if you don't know, Willie Gay Jr. has been suspended for 4 games due to the related incident that happened in January where he had a domestic disturbance with his baby mama, and we've already gone over the Dustbuster nickname, as he is being dusted by the NFL on a 4-game suspension. And also, Trey Lance is out for the season due to injuries to his ankle.
Yeah, I figured that was going to be a thing as soon as the injury occurred and Jimmy Garoppolo was coming in. And that should have happened a long time ago. With the Niners should have never have benched Garoppolo to begin with, because I didn't think Trey Lance was ready. And now with kind of where I was going with that before Ruckus decided to go with the dust busting. In the sport history this week, everything that I'm talking about occurred on September 21st. On this day in 1971, the American League approves the second run of the Washington Senators moving. Which team is this now known as between the two runs of the Washington how I said, the two runs of the Washington Senators? One was known as one team. This one was known as another. Where was the move to? And what is this team now known as today? In talking about 1971. And this was your shot to take a stab at it there,
Oh,
Ruckus.
my bad. All right. In 1971, the American League approves the second run of the Washington Senators to move to Arlington to become what we know today as the Texas Rangers.
Yep. And in 1982, the NFL players begin a 57-day strike. The season ended well for Washington later on as they won Super Bowl 17 over the Miami Dolphins, and Mark Mosley was named the NFL's MVP. Now, this is a very interesting turn of events, as that 1982 NFL season, Martinsburg native Fulton Walker was in Super Bowl 17 on the Miami side, and I actually have gotten to meet Mark Mosley, and actually at a sport breakfast was actually able to throw an interview question to him about this strike in 1982. So that was definitely a very interesting take on that. And then 9 years later, in 1991, the famous Dream Team was officially announced by USA Basketball. At this point, NBA players were allowed to participate in the Summer Olympics for basketball. And with this first run, USA had to flex. And they flexed hard when you're bringing in Jordan, Chris Mullin, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Karl Malone, John Stockton. You have all these great players from the 80s and early 90s that were just doing their thing. However, they had all these pro players, but they still kept one college athlete. Ruckus, can you name the player who was still in college at the time when the 1992 Dream Team was announced that got to play?
Was it? It wasn't Kobe Bryant, was
Nope.
it?
Kobe Bryant was straight out of high school. And you're about 4 years off.
Charles Barkley.
Barkley was a member of the Dream Team. And Barkley was already in the NBA.
And I also cheated by looking it up because I have no idea.
You would have been between. Though it would have been Shaq. It actually was Christian Laettner.
Oh, I was my second guess was Shaq after Charles.
Yeah,
If I wasn't
Shaq
cheating.
was not a member of the 92 Dream Team because he was still in college. But Laettner was able to come in and play. And now that we kind of go along with this, we now can go right into our week 2 recap of the high 8. And week 2 had, I would say, a combination of some very, very good games and quite a few stinkers. And a lot of combat, a lot of teams showing a lot of fight.
Yeah, part 2 of comebacks. Here we come, because week 1 there was a lot of comebacks, and week 2 like doubled that amount of comebacks, as far as like not two teams just tying and having an 0-1 record. Looking at you, Colts. Looking at you, Steelers.
Yep. Okay. So I'll let you kind of go on your little rant here for a moment, Ruckus, as we are now going to be talking about the most impressive team from this week. And I'm sure that this one is going to be a doozy for you to rant on.
It's not really a rant. I was honestly just surprised that Tua just threw the ball like more than 50 yards to Tyreek Hill, and they just kept going after the and really just exposing the Ravens at any chance they got, because the Ravens were down Marcus Peters and like a few other corners that I can't name off the top of my head. Um, and their defense suffered because of it. And so all Tua had to do was pull what Josh Allen did and just chuck it down the field to the receiver, and that receiver was Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. So when you factor in all those, it's pretty easy to figure that out against against the Ravens. And personally, when it came to both teams playing the way they did, obviously the Dolphins did a better job, but man, they both fought, and they fought for a lot. But one team won, and it was the Dolphins, so I would have to pick them as the most impressive. Spence, what is yours?
The Detroit Lions. They are they showed a week earlier against Philadelphia that they are gritty. Then they can work hard for their points. And Detroit just came out in the first half and took the Commanders to the woodshed. Granted that the Lions did have Washington also come back in the second half and show how Washington could fight, but they were able to score when they needed to and took advantage of a Washington defense that was not that really hasn't played well, and they came away with a win to go 1-1. But the Detroit Lions have been incredibly impressive over the past 2 weeks, and it's showing.
I will be surprised if they win on Thanksgiving Day. Sorry, not sorry.
Wait, who are they playing on Thanksgiving this year?
Well, just in general, usually the Lions lose on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I know that Thanksgiving is usually like it's a big game for them.
Yep, so if you're looking to bet against the Lions on Thanksgiving, you might want to rethink that strategy. Unless the Lions start to suck again, Rob Schneider would say in The Waterboy.
Yeah. Who was your most disappointing team this week?
Oh no, we suck again! I had mine as the Indianapolis Colts for the lousy goose egg that they dropped on the field against the Jaguars, which they were a total goose egg last season, and it it shows. You can't really just use Jonathan Taylor all the time to as your offense of attack, and Matt Ryan just isn't who he was a while back.
In the Colts' defense, they were without Michael Pittman as a late scratch. They had Pittman out as a late scratch. They had, and really a lot of injury. They've been dealing with a ton of injuries on top of having to deal with replacing a kicker and all these other little things that went along with it. But the Colts overall, especially with, okay, they've brought Matt Ryan to try and improve this team. He hasn't done very much at all to help them.
They do have one thing going for them though, and that is their run defense against the opposing team's offense. At least that's what the game preview showed for the Colts versus Chiefs. That they are very good at stopping the run. All right, what's your most impressive player?
Oh, my most disappointing team was the Tennessee Titans. I think they, in a game that I thought they would have performed a lot better and would have provided a different challenge for the Bills, the Titans just underperformed. And I mean, it was to the point that, okay, Ryan Tannehill really isn't all that good. Okay. Derrick Henry held in check, minus a touchdown. I can understand Buffalo doing a little bit, but they could have found more creative ways to do something. And especially because Mike Vrabel, known for being on the defensive side, I thought that would have provided much more of a challenge for the Bills offensively. Nope. So I just think the Tennessee Titans, in just a huge game, led to a very, very terrible performance. But who is your most impressive player?
All right, so my most impressive player this week was Kyler Murray from the Arizona Cardinals, mainly because the man bounced back from and came back against the Raiders after last week getting crushed and smoldered and not feeling confident against the Chiefs. My honorable mention this week is also Lamar Jackson for about the same reason. Um, because of the comeback that, or not really the same reason. Lamar Jackson lost this week, but Lamar Jackson just in general looked better than he did last week, even though they lost.
Okay, my honorable mention this week goes to Stephon Diggs and how he has been able to catch the ball well and was really the Titans secondary just could not hold him down. 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards receiving. Diggs was having a field day out there. But my most impressive player, granted that we put him in for very much a put up or shut up type thing, Tua Tagovailoa. 6 touchdowns against a Baltimore defense that was more porous than SpongeBob. And of course, granted, Tua was just throwing the ball all over the field.
Yeah, he pulled
And
a Josh Allen like in the AFC divisional against the Chiefs because our secondary was just not there, and that's the same thing that happened with the Ravens. They didn't have their two best corners, especially Peters.
Tua, 36 for 50, 469 yards and 6 touchdowns. 11 of those 36 passes going to Tyreek Hill for 190 of those yards, and 2 of those touchdowns went to Tyreek. The Dolphins rallied from 21 down on the arm of Tua to get them to a 42-38 win. 28-3 was the score differential in the fourth quarter. So really, I'm going to say the Ravens defense, just known for being dominant, just fell apart. And fell apart very, very quickly.
Yes, it did.
All right, Ruckus, who is your impressive rookie this week?
My impressive rookie was Traylon Burks of the Tennessee Titans. Even though yes they lost by a margin, but just the little that we saw of Traylon Burks, he looked like a wide receiver that was ready to catch a pass or just do whatever he could to help his team win.
I'm going with Aiden Hutchinson of the Detroit Lions. Yes, this Lions Commanders game, especially that first half, Jared Goff had a good game. Don't get me wrong. But Aiden Hutchinson had 6 tackles. 5 of them were solo. But the most notable thing that came through, 3 sacks. He had 3 sacks in that game. And 2 tackles for loss. So for me, Aiden Hutchinson had a huge game. And that kind of meant a lot more for what the Lions were able to do on the defensive side of the ball and provide all that pressure that helped them pick up the win, especially forcing the Commanders to be dug into too deep of a hole. What was the most disappointing thing you noticed all week?
Mainly just bad offensive decisions from these select teams that I picked. Uh, and this is again is bad offensive decisions from the following teams: the Houston Texans, the Indianapolis Colts, the Steelers, the Broncos, and the Titans.
Okay, so what was the decision in each of those games that you said that this one was really, really bad?
I mean, there wasn't really much offense at all for the Texans. Just they didn't know how to help Mills. As far as the Colts go, they didn't score at all. So there's my bad offensive decisions. Just straight up didn't have it. The Steelers, they just look all out. They just look all over the place on offense, and the only way it seems that they feel safe to score is if it's a field goal because of the fact that they can't get their stuff together on offense. And the Broncos, just plain simple, don't know how to manage the clock, and Chef Russ is just straight up not he he just doesn't have the feeling that he did when he did the let's ride because he can't ride to the red zone and in for a touchdown. What? Because I don't know, it's weird that that happens, but it is what it is. The Titans, their offense did horrible against the defense of the Bills. Yes, the Bills were at home against the Titans, but still, if you want to compete in this league against one of the better teams in the AFC East, for the love of God, look like you want to play out there. At least they looked better than the Colts, but that's uh that's the problem with the Colts on their end. Anyways, what was your most disappointing thing you noticed?
I'm going to say teams with huge leads or teams with significant leads getting just a little bit too cute and too conservative in certain situations. Detroit basically defensively went into stuff that was entirely too conservative, or at least a little more conservative than what they probably could have done. Granted that Aiden Hutchinson was also doing quite a bit on a bum leg, but I think that the Commanders don't fight back if Detroit's able to just keep their foot on the accelerator.
Yeah.
Dallas, though the game was a little more back and forth, they did have a significant lead enough that Cincinnati was able to rally back before Dallas eventually woke up and kind of came to life on an offensive drive as the time was running out. But and then the LA Rams ran into a little bit of trouble as well in dealing with the Falcons as they were rallying. But then you go into the teams that ultimately lost games due to their terrible late game decision making. I'm going to start with the 1:00 game, and I'm going to put the Baltimore Ravens on blast. As I mentioned earlier, you were outscored 28-3 in the fourth quarter.
Super Bowls have been lost because of this. Just remember.
They had a 21 point lead and got smoked by the Dolphins, who have been surging. But who knows how long this surge is going to occur. And then I am going to call out my second one from the 1:00 games, the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns. They are down, more or less. They were up 30-17 with 1 minute and 55 seconds to go in the game. And Corey Davis gets a 66-yard pass from Joe Flacco for a tutty. Garrett Wilson scores a 15-yard touchdown pass to have the Jets get ahead. And then Jacoby Brissett throws one right to a Jets defender for Cleveland's only turnover of the game. And it ultimately proved to be the most costly as the Browns fell to the Jets 31-30. And last but not least, I gotta call out the Las Vegas Raiders as Kyler Murray rallied back. Kyler Murray rallied the Rams back, or the Cardinals back against the Raiders.
You could say he rammed them back.
Well, or he raided them.
There you go.
And let alone this, also on top of that, proved everybody wrong on Kyler Murray's Call of Duty. But here's the thing: the Raiders were up 23-7 with 1 minute and 38 seconds to go in the third. The Cardinals score 2 touchdowns and convert the 2-point conversions as time expired in regulation to get the Cardinals and Raiders into overtime. And then with about 4 minutes to go in overtime, the Raiders cough up the football and lose the game. So I think it's just a lot of teams that had late game advantage, maybe not necessarily doing the best at keeping their foot on the accelerator when they needed to. And what would you say for the best game this week?
Alright, so last week I tried not to be super biased because it was the Chiefs versus Cardinals, and that wasn't really the best game of the week anyways, because we outscored them. This week, was a very special one, as it was a Thursday night football game between the Chiefs and the Chargers. And my favorite thing about it was the Jalen Watson interception at the end of the game, or near the end of the game. That was very special, and it helped us near the end. In general, game was awesome. It had me out of my seat most of the time, or yelling at the screen, even though no one can hear me outside of it.
I would give an honorable mention this week to Jets Browns for a weird reason. But I am going to say that the best game this week in terms of a shootout was Dolphins Ravens. And then the worst game for you this week.
The Texans Broncos, just what the hell's going on?
And I had Colts Jaguars because of the lackluster effort that came from the Indianapolis Colts. And now we go into setting the lineup. But first, I'm going to ask a question here that also goes along with our theme of setting the lineup. Who is providing themselves to be the better surprise this season that we have currently? That the New York Giants are 2-0, or that the Cincinnati Bengals are 0-2. Which one is really the bigger surprise?
I feel like if you're a Bengals fan, you probably hate to feel this way, but here's another thing. The Chiefs, after they lost in a Super Bowl, went on a rough slide, and we know that from last year. So it's kind of a surprise because Jamar Chase was one of the number one targets that Burrow had. Same with T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and CJ
Higgins,
Uzama, which is now a New York Jet.
Uzama's a Jet, and Higgins is currently out with it. Has currently been out unless he came back recently. Higgins was also currently out with a concussion.
Right. And I am a little surprised but also their offensive line isn't one of the better offensive lines out there, anyways. But I think the league just kind of caught on to what Burrow is doing, like many other teams probably have already. But I'm more surprised that the Giants are 2-0 because the
Yeah, at this point,
Giants suck.
well, the Giants are not necessarily the best team, but they have taken advantage of opportunities missed by the Tennessee Titans and playing the Carolina Panthers.
I have a
So
feeling that if Saquon Barkley wasn't healthy, they wouldn't be in the best situation that they are now. Do you think they would be 0-2 or 1-1 if they didn't have Saquon Barkley?
I would say at least 1-1, potentially an 0-2, depending on how Baker was able to capitalize on it.
Because like the past
But
couple of years, they haven't had Saquon Barkley at all, because due to injuries. So it feels like now that he's actually playing a key part in the games and staying healthy, that maybe they have a shot at something. I'm not saying they're gonna win it all. I'm just saying they have a shot to do something.
it's also the same thing with Washington and having Curtis Samuel.
Yeah.
So that also is a notable a huge piece in and of itself as well. And then, but our setting the lineup this week is who did it better? Which player did it better in these situations? Who is doing the running quarterback thing better? Lamar Jackson or Michael Vick?
I wanted to say this one's a tough one. I would have to say Vic because even though he had the incident in early in his career when he was with the Falcons and then went to the Eagles and played, either way, um, I feel like Vic's throwing arm was better than Lamar Jackson's, and I don't really view, as much as I dog on Lamar Jackson, like I feel like Lamar Jackson looks more like a running back with better juke moves than Michael Vick was, because Michael Vick just mainly ran down the sideline, and that's kind of what you're supposed to do as a quarterback.
Well,
But
Michael Vick scrambled. Michael Vick scrambled while Lamar Jackson has been more on designed runs.
right, I mean, I don't know. I think Vic did it better because he didn't get injured as much as Lamar Jackson did.
I don't know. Vic did lose a season at least due to injury.
How many seasons did he lose during that scandal, though, or during his arrest?
He lost about 2 or 3 out of that, including the incarceration. He lost a good amount of time.
So if he wasn't abusing dogs, he probably would have done a little bit better to pad his stats. Maybe, I don't know.
True, but I
I
think Vic was also making beneficial runs during the playoffs, while the playoffs have been more about forcing Lamar to pass.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Michael Vick final answer for me.
Yeah. I think for me, it's probably Michael Vick as well. Better dominant defensive performance this week: the Bills, the Eagles, or the Jaguars?
Whew. I would say Bills because here's the deal: the Eagles face the Vikings. They're kind of equally matched, but not in like a way where it's like a good thing, because the Eagles are usually known for being like an underdog for the most part, and um, the Bills, they were facing a tough opponent in Tennessee, and last year Tennessee and the year before that they looked pretty intimidating with not only having Derrick Henry and running most of the time and or just uh, great offense, but their defense was scary, and the Bills was just more intimidating in that game. But damn, I would have to say the Bills because Jaguars pretty much just took candy from a baby instead of candy from uh, a grown adult. Because man, I don't know. What do you think?
Taking, I also am taking the Bills, just simply because they were able to hold or prevent a lot of things from Derrick Henry and be able to force Ryan Tannehill to pass. And that to me was huge enough. I mean, Jacksonville, yeah, a blanking. The Colts had no real weapons for Matt Ryan to do anything with. The Eagles, I mean, Kirk Cousins playing in a position where it was like it just really wasn't all that good, and very much a lot of the stuff to Justin Jefferson seems so telegraphed. And Darius Slay was also having a great game.
Yes, indeed
So
he was.
I too am going to also take the Bills.
Duh, Bills.
Yep. Better freight train runner moment: the Beastquake run by Marshawn Lynch versus the Saints in the 2010 wildcard game, or Derrick Henry's 99-yard run against the Jaguars in 2018.
That's just terrible, Ernie. Very terrible. I'm gonna have to say the Beastquake run by Marshawn Lynch so I don't get fined. Um, I watched that clip between versus the Derrick Henry one, and I gotta say, Marshawn Lynch just didn't give a damn who was trying to get in his way. Whereas Derrick Henry, he just shoved someone and then just started running. And when he runs, it's like it's like more like an act, like he's acting like he's running, versus like actually just like looking like he's fast. He just looks like a tank that's like trying to run.
Well, Marshawn Lynch in his run broke more tackles, but Marshawn Lynch was also truly a run up the gut. Henry's was a little more of a bounce out anyway.
Did
But
Henry cause a earthquake though?
no, the magnitude of the moment was a little more toward that Richter scale for Marshawn anyway to begin with.
That's what I thought.
But but I was saying in even though the distance favored Henry, I think in terms of the lore was a little more toward Marshawn. The better comeback moment. I am actually, instead of saying the 23-7 victory for the Cardinals Raiders, I'm going to say Miami's 21-point comeback against Baltimore, or the you like that game against the Bucks for Washington, where they were down 24 donut to win 31-30.
Mm-hmm.
This is the Kirk Cousins you like that game versus Miami Baltimore and Tua Tagovailoa's 6 touchdown passing game.
I'm gonna have to um say the I'm gonna have to say the Tua game, Miami versus Baltimore.
Take the you like that game because the comeback was a little larger. The Dolphins were only down 21, factoring in that the Washington was down 24 to nothing and fought all the way back. The fact that you started out with no points and you're down 24 to get that victory, and this was a point where Kirk Cousins was really playing in a put up or shut up year for his contract at Washington. I'm gonna take the you like that game over Miami's comeback. Just simply the magnitude of that game.
The lore. I gotcha. I was about to go for the you like that game, but I didn't have enough context on it, and I don't remember it as fondly as you do. So I figured,
Okay.
I'll go with the Miami one.
Okay. So the week 2 results of our fantasy football teams.
Did we want to go with the
Um.
last one, or are we done? The Rising Star?
Oh. Oh yeah, the Rising Star wide receiver thing. I was kind of saying that as a theory. We'll probably go quickly on this. Amon-Ra St. Brown or T.O.
Theo.
I'm taking Amon-Ra St. Brown. The reason why rookie seasons. Amon-Ra St. Brown has about 400, almost 400 more wide receiver receiving yards. But granted, Amon-Ra St. Brown is in a more pass happy league. But Amon-Ra St. Brown, especially in coming through in the later parts of last season and picking up where he left off this year, I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is right now, I think, doing the rising wide receiver thing a lot better. And I think he'll become a 1,000-yard receiver this year by the time it is all said and done.
Sounds good, yeah.
In our fantasy football recaps, I also lost as I ran into my second straight Buzzsaw Player of the Year. In last week, it was Patrick Mahomes and Saquon Barkley. This week, it was Lamar Jackson. And Ruckus, I see that you also lost lost by 20 as well.
Yeah, I lost 68 to 88 due to the fact that Travis Kelsey, yes, the Chiefs are throwing it to different people each game, but I figured Kelsey would be like the cop out guy to throw to if maybe he was open and had something to do. Instead, he got body slammed, but that's besides the point. He didn't have very many receptions, and I screwed up trying to get Lazard in there when it was too late. So I changed my tight end that I had. I had Hooper as my like backup tight end that I put in at the last minute for Jamal Williams, not knowing that Jamal Williams would do well. And then so I took away Hooper and got Duvernay, and that is the wide receiver from the Ravens.
Yep.
And I did okay there, but still, it wasn't enough.
Yep. All right. And now we are going to go into picking our games this week. Last week, I picked up a 5-4 record while Ruckus finished 4-5. I carry a 5-game lead going into this week. The first game is Florida versus Tennessee. Number 20 Florida versus number 11 Tennessee. Where are you going, Ruckus?
I'm going Tennessee.
I am also taking the Volunteers. And we then will have number 10 Arkansas versus number 23 Texas A&M.
I'm gonna go Texas A&M. Go
I am going
Aggies.
I am going to take the Razorbacks this week. Go Hogs. I am as much as I really wanted to go A&M, especially with A&M being at home. Arkansas, I think, is going to be the better team at the when it's all said and done.
Fair
All
enough.
right.
Fair enough.
Now shifting to the NFL. Bills Dolphins.
I'm gonna go Bills.
Okay. I also am agreeing with you and going with the Bills.
I'm gonna
Lions
go.
Vikings.
Sorry, go ahead. Lions Vikings. I'm going to go Lions.
I think that Aiden Hutchinson's health is going to be a key, and also I think there was some health issues with the Lions corners. This may open up things a little bit more, hopefully for Adam Thielen, as Okuda will more than likely carry the assignment of Justin Jefferson all day. So I am going to take the Vikings. Eagles Commanders.
I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia Eagles.
I am in a point where I'm like, let's get real here. Let's get real. I am going to have to take the Eagles here. Though this game is in DC, I think that the Commanders are in a little bit of trouble. And the Eagles will not let up on that. And it's hard enough that Carson Wentz is already going to be playing against one of his old teams. I might change this pick. And take the Commanders at home because they played well at home last week. Jaguars Chargers, who you got?
I got the Chargers.
Even with Justin Herbert having some injured ribs, I am going to go with the Jacksonville Jaguars, as I think they are going to probably take advantage of another dominant week that they had last week to kind of challenge the Chargers. Rams Cardinals.
That one's a toughie because I'm gonna go Rams.
Yeah, I think I'm going with the Rams here as well, but I think that the Rams need to cut down on the mistakes.
Well, they
Packers,
also need to do better on defense too.
Packers, Buccaneers.
I
As
don't
I,
know. I think it's gonna be the Buccaneers.
yeah, I'm taking the Bucks as well, even though they are going to be. Actually, I think I'm going to take the Packers.
Well, here, hold on there. You got Cole Beasley coming in, possibly, but you also have Scotty Miller and um 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 um, um, um and what's his face, Russell Gage, and
Yeah,
I think that's it.
but you have Mike Evans suspended.
Right, that's what I was going with. That's why I kind of hesitated. I was like, wait, Mike Evans is suspended, and you don't have Godwin.
Yep. So I think ultimately I am going to take. I think I'm going to take the. I think I'm going to take the Packers and try and be a little aggressive here,
All right,
and
all right.
also say Ravens Patriots.
Ravens I'm gonna say Ravens because they have the star-studded talent, and Mac Jones has been kind of yay or nay,
Yep.
especially against the Steelers. Like, damn, you should be able to crush that team.
And then last, I also took the Ravens, and last but not least, the Giants and the Cowboys.
How about those Cowboys?
Oh, you are going to take the second string quarterback against the Giants. I'm going to take the. I think the surprise season continues for just a little bit longer, and the Giants will come out of this at 3-0.
I don't know. Jerry might have a brain aneurysm by the time that game's done, but we'll see.
Yep. And now that we've concluded our picks, we now can kind of check out what we have for the best and the worst of this week with our weekly stud and dud. All right, Ruckus, who's your stud for this week?
We kind of talked about him earlier in the podcast, but this man is a not quarter, cornerback for the Philadelphia Eagles, and his name is Darius Slay Jr. with the dominant performance of 2 interceptions. The man was on point.
Going to go from the Lions Commanders game for this one and go that my stud for the week is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Major milestones were set by him in this Lions Commanders game. He matches an eight. Well, I'm going to say that, yeah, it was 8 catches in a game for 8 straight games. And this matches an NFL mark. And he also matches Herman Moore's Lions franchise mark with 6 straight games with a touchdown and a 184-yard and 2 touchdown performance against the Commanders. So for me, Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be quite scary for some of these teams down the line.
All right. For my honorable mention, by the way, I have the Watsons. That is Watsons plural. And my the reason why I say the Watsons is because on the Chiefs you have two people with the last name of Watson. One's a defensive man and one's an offensive man. And both of these guys contributed to the Kansas City Chiefs offense on Thursday Night Football. The first one was Justin Watson, and then the finisher was Jalen Watson, who is also the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. Shout out to the boy Jalen Watson, 7th round pick from Washington State. He's busting his ass out here, out in KC. And he's going to do the same thing in Indiana. Let's go. They also took the win back for KC. Spoiler alert for people that haven't watched Thursday night or are living under a rock.
Okay. And I have no honorable mention this week. So, Ruckus, what is the dud for you this week?
So this dud is kind of a controversial dud, but this was during the Buffalo Bills Tennessee Titans game on Thursday,
You
or
mean
actually,
Monday?
yeah, Monday. My bad. The NFL refs blew a bad call on an offside decision on the Titans. Because originally, when I saw it, I saw one of the Titans defenders flinch, but no one on the offensive line on the Bills did. And so everyone saw that the defensive guy was flinched, and so everybody was anticipating that the Titans would get the call for offsides, but no. They called it on the offense of the Buffalo Bills. And so what perspired afterwards is the fans all yelling in unison the word bull crap, bull crap, bull crap, but it wasn't crap. But I'll let you use your imagination. Anyways, Spennis, take it on with the dud.
My dud goes to the Cringensworth, Chris Collinsworth, for pretty much trying to roast his sideline reporter, Melissa Stark, about her punctuality while talking about the two clocks at Lambeau Field inside and outside the stadium and how they were set apart from each other. He goes and he draws a line pretty much on a telestrator saying like, "Oh, this is actually what Melissa Stark time is like." And she's like, "Oh, wait, what are you talking about? I'm not late." It and it was bad timing. It was really a bad way to make fun of, to
It
roast
was
on
very
that,
awkward. I'll
especially
give you that.
on live TV. It's just like, what the heck, Collinsworth? Now here's a guy that likes to come up with some sort of awkward way to roast the new teammates
So
while
here's a
looking
guy
like
without Al Michaels to fuck to
just completely like keep him in check, reel him in.
Not even Mike Tirico was like, you gotta calm down there a little bit, Chris. Here's a guy who doesn't get.
Yeah, it's Collinsworth. It's Collinsworth who definitely needs to hang it up.
Here's a guy that needs to hang it up. And then use his raspy,
Oh.
this is a guy.
Oh.
Oh my
Now here's a
god.
podcast that needs to hurry up and wrap up because
Here's a guy that needs to shut the hell up and then end the podcast.
yeah, at least at this point, because at this moment that is all the time we have for Ruckus and the Menace today. And I'm Spinus the Menace.
I am Ruckus.
And we'll catch you on the next one as we will recap week 3
Thank you
next
for
week.
listening.
Yep.
Also, it'll be episode number 25. So be there or be square or silver.
Deuces.